everyone, I'm Captain Logan, or I should say I'm Batcap, and here is Bat Dans. Hello, Bat Dans!
Hey, ooh, I love the Batman Arkham music.
Yeah, I know, isn't it great?
It's
really
gorgeous.
Good lead-in music, yeah.
Yeah.
It really sets the Batmosphere.
Oh, we are entering the Batmosphere.
We absolutely are. I hope everybody is ready to embrace, to be surrounded by the Batmosphere. This is something Dan and I have been talking about doing for quite a while now. We're really excited to finally get started on it. We were going to start broadcasting a couple weeks ago until Dan had the brilliant notion of doing this the week of Batman Day. And so that's what we're doing. A whole lot of celebration for Batman Day this year because it's the 80th anniversary, and I can't think of anything that's ever made as big of a deal out of an 80th anniversary as Batman has. I think it's going to be like that, Dan. Every 5 years until the 100th, it's going to be just like a bigger deal and a bigger deal.
I hope so, because Batman year started like 4 or 5 years ago, right? It's relatively newer
Batman Day
invention.
I want to say Batman Day started like just before the 75th, or maybe the year of the 75th. No, I think it was even, right. I think it was even before that.
Was it?
I think so, or maybe I'm not sure.
I want to say it was like 2015 was when I first became aware of it.
Oh, okay.
But it might have been around before then.
Sure, but anyway,
I even thought it was this last weekend, not this weekend coming up. I thought it was the 15th, not the 21st.
Yeah, you were like, we should broadcast on Batman Day, and I was like, oh, but it's a Saturday. I'm not going to broadcast on a Saturday. Nobody's going to show up on the weekend. They got better things to do. They're mowing their lawn. But on a Thursday night, perhaps
they're mowing their lawn.
Folks want to talk about Batman. So welcome to the Batmosphere, folks. We are, of course, broadcasting live. So if you want to chat with us anytime during the show, feel free to leave comments, and we will answer as many things as we can about mostly the segments that we'll be talking about. This show is going to be a little bit more streamlined and planned than the Captain Logan show. We've got a few different segments to do. Each will be about 15 minutes long or so, and we're going to try to keep it to an hour, as close to an hour as we can. So it's not going to be a full-blown Q&A show like we usually do on the Captain Logan show, because I feel like even month to month, just Q&A on Batman might be a tad self-indulgent. I think we should probably have plans. So we do. Do we look like guys with a plan? I don't know, but we have one. Well,
we're both wearing Batman shirts, so we planned something, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
and I'm wearing, ironically, like, I planned the show mostly, and I'm ironically wearing the shirt of the guy that doesn't have a plan, or at least claims he doesn't.
That's true.
He's just a dog chasing cars.
Chasing cars. Your father begged, like a dog, chasing cars. It all comes full circle.
You got spirit, kid. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we also kicked that around, just having the show be the quote Batman Begins show, just an hour every month of just quoting Batman Begins. We kicked
I could
it
do
around.
that. We could break down each scene.
It'd be real easy. But anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a Bat Life segment where we're gonna talk about stuff that we happen to be doing lately having to do with Batman, and then we're gonna talk about news, and we'll do some other segments throughout the night. We're also going to review something each show, and this time we're gonna talk just a little bit about Pennyworth. We're not gonna be doing an entire spoiler cast on the season so far. There are already 8 episodes out, and they're only doing a 10-episode season, so we could have waited and done a whole spoiler cast on it, but I kind of just wanted to dip my toes in it and let people know whether or not we thought it was worth looking at, because Pennyworth is a show that nobody seems to be watching, nobody seems to be talking about, and I figured it would be more useful for folks with this particular show to know if they should even bother, you know, with their $6 a month for epics in order to watch a thing, because I'm sure it's like CBS All Access, where you either don't have that or you just really, really want to watch Pennyworth.
Yes.
Yes. So Dan, we jump right now into Bat Life, and is there anything that you have lately been doing that has to do with Batman?
I mean, Batman's always in my life. I mean, I'm more so coming up with plans for Batman Day coming up. I think I want to do a big extravaganza around just I don't know what yet. I kind of want to do like some sort of hot sauce themed thing where I'm going through and playing Batman games and torturing myself with hot sauce throughout the day. But no, nothing super crazy recently. I've tried to get into the, what is it, Scott Snyder, Batman and Robin series, because I've heard, am I getting the name right? I'm probably super
Are you
wrong.
talking about recent stuff?
No. Batman and Robin, when he came in, and I'm just trying to figure out if I got the name right. Scott Snyder.
I mean, Snyder didn't have a book called Batman and Robin.
Who is the one who had the Batman and Robin
Morrison?
book?
Are we going all the way back to Morrison?
Grant Morrison,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, okay, so you've been reading that, yeah.
I started that, which because I feel like such a fake Batman fan. I'm so just like, when it comes to, it's the animated series, the movies, the games. Like, I used to read the comics when I was younger, and I've read a lot of the main arcs, but not all the big main arcs. So I was just like, I need to read some of that, at least the more recent comic books, because I haven't read a lot of the newer runs, like the Batman and Robin one. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Morrison has, and by the way, part of the reason I'm doing this show with Dan, besides the fact that I just really like hanging out with Dan, and we've never done a regular show together, or at least not for any length of time, right? Like you were with me for Gotham discussions for a while, and then you fell off of that. You were with me for Bat Chat for a while, and then you fell off of that. But you're the first and probably only co-host on this show, so hopefully
yes.
we're able to hang on to this.
We started doing the Arkham podcast way back in the day. Arkham City in 2012 was our first kind of foray into doing stuff, and then we didn't do anything until Arkham Origins.
That's true. Yeah.
And then we did the Arkham Knight. So we always came back for the Arkham Knight games podcasts, which I think I was on record saying that I really liked Arkham Origins. My opinion on that game has completely changed since then, but yeah.
So Dan, of course, has a lot of knowledge as far as Batman and other media, but part of the reason that I wanted Dan on this show was to make me feel more, look at least a little bit more knowledgeable. If I have Dan here, I look more knowledgeable. So Morrison, and I've not read all of it, but he has a very long run, and he's got a big vision, so Batman and Robin really isn't the place to start. I mean, you can do that, but you're kind of like hip deep in the middle of his run, because Morrison begins with Batman and Son, and then it goes into R.I.P., and so he's going to be building on a lot of stuff that he did already in Batman and Robin that you're not necessarily going to pick up on, and then Batman and Robin eventually goes into Return of Bruce Wayne and Batman Incorporated and all of that, so there is a definitive run from beginning to end that gets muddied because of New 52, and it's annoying, but there is a full-blown run there, so you might want to go back to Batman and Son Batman and Son.
Okay, there. Well, no, I felt like I was coming into the middle of a story because Batman was dead, and it was so confusing. It was so confusing, but it was cool. I mean, I liked it. I liked it where it picked off, but it was very much like what's happening.
Blue Dragon 5 says, Dan, give Snyder a shot. It's easier to get into. That's probably fair, and I like Snyder's run. It's a little hit and miss. I'm not a huge fan of Super Heavy, but I like most of the rest of it. And in fact, Snyder, I'll segue into mine real quick. Snyder was the big thing I was going to bring up. I recently read the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. And it's great. I enjoyed it a lot. It's 7 issues, which I was afraid would be too long, and it's absolutely not. And I'm glad that he got as many issues to tell that story as he did. And it felt like a really nice final, finally a conclusion to his run. Because, like I said, I don't love Super Heavy, and All Star was not very good. And then he did Metal, and I really loved what I read of Metal. And I didn't realize that the Batman Who Laughs was going to read so much like just another arc in his run, and it's one of the better ones. It's really good. So I recommend that to folks that know anything about Snyder's run. It would probably be a weird thing to just sit down and pick up and read, because it's so Snyder, and I think it's easier to get if you're familiar with his kind of tropes and quirks and stuff. Although it reads a little bit more mainstream than some of the other stuff he did, and I think it's a better Joker story than some of his other Joker stuff. But his cliffhangers in that are fantastic. Just like at the end of every issue, you're like, holy crap. And he manages to do that every time. It's excellent. You want to and like, you don't even necessarily have to read Metal in order to appreciate Batman Who Laughs, but you do want to read the Batman Who Laughs one-shot, because that establishes the origin of that character and how in another universe and how he came to be. And the basic idea with the Batman Who Laughs is that in that Batman universe, Batman ends up having to kill the Joker, and the Joker has this contingency thing where whoever kills him gets a dose of a toxin that essentially turns them into the Joker. And so it's like his last laugh. And the Batman Who Laughs is all about the notion of the last laugh and what exactly that means, and that's really cool. And he kind of gets into the semantics of that popular phrase. I just remember that, talking about it. That whole thing was interesting. But yeah, so the Batman Who Laughs miniseries takes place in our universe, and it's it's our Batman slowly turning into another Batman who laughs, and it's great.
Oh man,
it's fantastic. So yeah, I think everybody ought to check that out after you've read a little bit of Snyder. If you do read Snyder, Dan, make sure and start with is it Black Glove, Black Mirror? Is it I think it's Black Mirror, the Detective Comics run. Before you start with his New 52 stuff, because it really sets all that up, and it's also just excellent.
Yeah, I read a little bit of All Star too. It's one where it's like I think he has Two-Face and he's like on a road trip with him or something. I can't remember. It's weird. Yeah,
it was oversized. Actually, no, it wasn't oversized. I kept complaining about that because it was $5 for no reason. It was like regular page count. They're like, it's still Snyder's Batman. You have to pay an extra $1. But like, it was kind of one and done stories that kept sort of building on each other. But I read the Mr. Freeze one and I was done. It was not good.
Oh dang.
Yeah, Mr. Snow Black. Other people liked All Star. I just didn't care for it. But anyway, the other thing I've been doing lately, and I'm kicking around maybe doing a review of this when I'm done with it, is I've been reading the Batman Begins novelization.
Oh, nice.
I've never done.
I read that way back in the day.
Yeah, this is really interesting. It's written by Dennis O'Neil, and it reads very, very Dennis O'Neil.
I love how it actually they're going off the mythology of Roz and the Lazarus Pit and stuff. Yes. Like that's all in the book, all in the novelization. And
it fits really well with this material. I mean, there are certain characters that O'Neil kind of brings his original regular comic voice to, and so they don't read as much like the characters from the movie, but this makes a really good case for some of that supernatural stuff still existing in this more grounded universe. And the folks that argued with me after Rises came out all those years ago now and said the Lazarus Pit cannot exist in that universe. Yes, it can! It absolutely can! And O'Neil makes a wonderful case for it here. But Dan, there are whole scenes here that weren't in the movie and that help inform stuff. And the first thing Bruce Wayne does when he gets back is not to call up his company and try to get a job there. You know what the very first thing he does is?
I can't remember.
He researches Ra's al Ghul, which is what he do, because O'Neil reads frustrated that this Batman is not a detective. And he goes, I'm gonna make him a detective, and so he doesn't add a bunch of stuff in his travels where he's learning to be a detective. He just comes back to Gotham and he starts doing detective work. And it's gonna be kind of on the job training. But when because a lot of the time I can't get into novelizations because it just feels like, reading the movie beat for beat. And so I'll read 20 pages and I'll be like, I mean, I've seen this movie. Like, I don't know why I'm reading this. And the prose is not especially captivating. And it's kind of, I feel like these things very often exist as just to be kind of artifacts to get people to, like, buy more stuff for the movie. So, like, what's in the pages doesn't really matter. It's kind of just, if we can get somebody in 2 weeks to just jot some stuff down and put it between pages, we can sell another piece of memorabilia. This is not like that. I flipped open into the middle of it just to see how it read, and I flipped like 15 or 20 pages and didn't recognize anything. This is an entirely different scene that wasn't in the movie, and I was like, I'm reading this book. It's great, and he's got this whole like journal for Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that goes way
that was
back,
awesome.
and you do get the reveal very early about what his plan is for Gotham, but I'm only halfway through it, but I like the way it's reading for the way it will have to reveal the whole Ducard Razagul thing.
Yeah,
it's cool, and I may do a full blown review on it.
This could be me misremembering, but isn't he kind of like grooming Bruce to be Talia's husband? Isn't that in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's not in the movies at all.
He sired 350 kids, and he only got 2 boys, and they both died before the age of 1. And he's wanting an heir. He's wanting a male heir, and like something with his biology makes it impossible for him to have boys, and so that's why he brought in Bruce Wayne. It also weirdly fits pretty well with Rises. Like, Rises is a better movie when you read this, because he's got an explanation for why Talia's not there and where she is, and anyway, it's great. Okay, so, those are some Batman things I've been doing. Hey, Dan, do you got any, Bat news for us? Does Dan's News want to talk about any Bat news?
I need, like, an intro to this segment. It's the Bat Dan's News.
I didn't get super fancy with this. I could have, though. I certainly could have.
Well, if you're a Batman game fan, now's the time to get in on it, because on PlayStation, if you're a PlayStation Plus member, Arkham Knight's free. But if you're just a PC gamer on Epic Games, I think it's 6 games are free now. All Batman game. There's Bat. Oh, there is a Bat Cat. Look at the Bat Cat. Oh, he's coming up. He's gonna come. Oh, he's here. It's happening. The Bat Cat's here to tell us about the what games are available. Hugo Strange. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all.
Is that his name?
His name is Hugo. So
That's
close
awesome.
enough. Hugo Strange. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. And then Lego Batman. I can't remember which one specifically.
It's the Lego Batman trilogy. The initial
1, 2, and 3,
and then it's the Arkham trilogy. Yeah, it's 6 games.
There you go. So those are all available for free on the Epic Games Store, which is nuts to me. Like, the Arkham Asylum games, I'm very surprised are all being available like free. But that's, I guess Batman Day is coming up and the 80th anniversary, and it's a whole big hoopla. The article I was reading was saying, like, no reason as to why, or no word as to why Arkham Origins and the Batman Telltale series aren't a part of this. But I think at this point, like, the Telltale series, that company was dissolved and then actually recently bought up and revived.
Yeah.
With the intent on, they're saying they still have the license for Batman, so they're going to do season 3 of that, and they're going to be doing The Wolf Among Us season 2. But I mean, I don't think I can see why that's not on the free games list, because any money they make from that, I'm sure, is just helping fund future games and all that stuff. And Arkham Origins, why would you put Arkham Origins on there in the first place? Completionists? I don't know. That game,
mean, if you want to fix it first.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
It's gotten glitchier more after the fact since I played
How's
it.
That possible?
I don't know. It was glitchy the first time I played it, and then it was even more glitchy the second time I played it. But yeah, so I can see why that one's not on there. But yeah, so if you are a Batman gamer and you haven't gotten around to the Arkham games, now's the time, because they're all free, and get them downloaded.
Or you sold all your game systems and you have no way to play it. Now, I don't know anything about the Epic Game Store. The way that article read, it seemed like it was just PC. Is that true, or is it?
Yeah, Epic Games is it's like Steam. It's just a PC gaming platform that you can run Fortnite through there and all that stuff. It's the same company that makes Fortnite. They're actually Epic Games is like 20 minutes down the road from me.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, they're based in Raleigh, so.
I was going to say, tell everybody where you live now, because you've moved recently.
I'm just outside Raleigh now, everybody. I'm in North Carolina, so if you see me walking around, say hey, and then just keep walking. Just keep walking. You don't want to talk to me.
Dan doesn't sign things. He's
like I do.
Tony. He's like Tony Stark. He doesn't like to be handed things.
No, I mean, like, if you come up to me, I won't let you leave. That's the thing, is you don't want to come up to me. I'm gonna hug you. I'm gonna want to take pictures with you.
And then what will happen is a bus will pass by, and then Dan will disappear. You won't even see him anymore.
Jason Bourne it.
I don't know how you do
Batman.
that. It's amazing. It's rude, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you do that.
He does that.
I missed the Mr. Roboto super chat from earlier. $2 super chat. He says, "So Cap, are you Alfred, Bruce, just a guest in the cave?" I'm gonna go with Bruce because I've always identified with Batman, but I like the idea of just being a guest in the cave. I just hang out down here.
I want to be the voice on the thing that goes, "Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Intruder alert!"
Intruder alert! Shut up! So speaking of Fortnite, another quick kind of non-news story is that Fortnite got a whole Batman package, and they're doing skin, and for some period of time, apparently, everything looks like Gotham City. Now, I don't know anything about Fortnite at all, so I don't even know how the gameplay is. I don't know what it's like. I just know that they're doing that for Batman Day and for the 80th anniversary. I read an article about this on Forbes, where the guy was like, Forbes of all things, where the guy was like, I think was where it was, the guy was like really confused about why they were doing a big Batman thing. He's like, so I read something about this Batman Day thing, so I guess that's what it is, but like without any other big tie-in with some big Batman thing coming out. Why in the world would they do that? And then he starts like theorizing, where he's like, well, they had all this Marvel stuff, so maybe Warner's is trying to get, like, he was overthinking it really hard. It's like, nah, it's the 80th anniversary. There's a whole lot of anniversry stuff. Like, they had the wrong guy write that article, is what I think.
Yeah, that is really strange. Yeah, no, they had the well, the game itself is a battle royale game. It's like 100 people are dropped onto a map, and you just have to, and it's like kind of very cartoony. You're just shooting each other and building and trying to block the people from.
Why is it so insanely popular? Why is it the thing the kids are doing these days, Dan?
It's a free-to-play game, and it just exploded. It's like the Hunger Games. That's the concept of the game. And you're dropped on this thing, the bubble is slowly closing, and it's whoever's the best, pretty much. And they had a Marvel Infinity Gauntlet tie-in thing where they had Thanos in there, and the gauntlet would come down, and whoever got the gauntlet would become Thanos. And so one person on the map has the powers of Thanos, and he just goes, and hops around and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty neat. I'm curious to see. I haven't seen any of this stuff in regards to this Batman update for Fortnite. I think it was leaked initially. I don't think it was like anything that they. I could be wrong. I saw an article headline that said leak. But I'm sure it'll be interesting whatever they end up doing, unless it's just like a textured thing. Which, I mean, either way, it's pretty cool. The design in the game is really colorful and neat. I read is that you get a skin.
I guess there's a Batman skin, and that the map is supposed to look like Gotham, but I don't know what else they're doing.
Yeah, they update that game like crazy, and it's pretty much every week they put out like a 2 gigabyte update, and they always have different things coming through.
Have you ever streamed it?
Yeah, I have played that a fair bit. Back in the day, it's probably been more than a year since I've streamed Fortnite. I'm not good at competitive games, and I don't like being super competitive with my games. I'd rather just a good narrative experience.
Same here, yeah. Well, and
I feel like a Bond villain.
It's kind of embarrassing, right? Like you're trying to stream a thing, and everybody else is better than you, and you play for 30 seconds and you're dead, and then you just kind of sit there and you tell your audience this. At least in my case, this is why we call it Cap Can't Play.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's people always want to play like teams with me, and then I'm like, I'm just going to be a detriment to your team. You don't want that. You're going to have to carry me really hard.
Mike Root says he heard the next theme is Splatoon. That's bizarre. That you'd take like another competitive shooter game, and you'd take and you'd make the skin of another game look like that. That's weird.
Yeah, it would be weird.
Flipping back to the first thing we talked about, the Wanderer says there's a huge controversy regarding the Epic Store and how they buy so many timed exclusives but can't follow their own roadmap in regards to basic features on the store.
Yeah, there's a lot of hubbub about the Epic Games Store in a lot of different ways. A lot of people just don't like it because it's another platform that you have to download and play your games on. And like he said about the buying up a whole bunch of exclusive rights for indie games, and it's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because they don't want to have to download a whole bunch of different launchers. But I mean, it's kind of how it's going to have to be. It's like streaming services at this point. Like, there's going to be a million different launchers coming soon. Like, Ubisoft has their Rockstar Games, who makes Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. They just put out their own launcher that you have to have tied into it. I think people are just going to have to buck up.
There's going to be a war, and eventually a couple or three will, come out triumphant, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, Epic Games they're buying their way to the top. So see how it goes.
But anyway, Batman. So another big 80th anniversary thing that's happening is apparently, I think it's on Batman Day. There's a bunch of different cities that are participating in this that are all going to shoot bat signals into the sky, which is kind of fun. It's kind of
yeah, that sounds awesome. Hopefully it's a cloudy night so you can actually get something on the clouds as opposed like what's the technology they do for that? Because I remember when Adam West passed away, they did the bat signal on City Hall in
I was going to say, I
LA?
think some of them would probably just shoot it at a building, at a real skyscraper.
That would make most sense, but it would be amazing to see a real bat signal in the sky.
Yeah.
Like that would be really cool. But
and then you could tell everybody like, no, see, it's possible. We all thought that it was really unrealistic, but it can be done.
see,
look at these conveniently passing clouds. Thank God they were conveniently passing. The last thing news-wise I wanted to bring up right now, Dan, is so last night on the Captain Logan show, I ranted for a good 10 minutes about the new Birds of Prey teaser poster, and I just wanted to know if you had anything to say about that, if you wanted to weigh in at all.
Because we called the other day, we had a little call, and when I say little call, we talked for like an hour. About
that's a little call for us. Remember how we sat in really uncomfortable chairs for 9 hours and played through Arkham City?
Well, I think that's what DJ said yesterday, because I did watch the beginning of that Captain Logan show. DJ described you as like really fun to chat with, and you could just keep chatting with you if you didn't have like a time limit on things. Like that's how easy it is to just keep going and going and going. Anyway, I digress. You had mentioned about
tear up again.
Yeah. You're a beautiful man.
Oh,
but
it's getting mushy in here again. It's too mushy.
All right, we need to serious up.
Bad mush.
Yeah. You had mentioned about how you weren't crazy about the color scheme and everything, and yeah, it's just, what did I say? Oh crap, I said something specifically. Like it's the outfit and stuff. It's like intentionally ugly looking, sort of like just not that appealing. It's very colorful, and it's like tassels. I can't remember what I said. She looks like the head of a gang in the movie The Warriors.
I was gonna say, is it like an '80s punk rock thing, like a biker chick thing? Is that? Yeah.
I get it, but it's just not very aesthetically pleasing for me.
I mean, I hope it fits the story they're telling really well, but it's probably
the title's very wacky, like the Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
The Emancipation Proclamation of one Harley S.J. Quinn.
Yeah, the word emancipation was like, why use that word? Use a different one.
I want to add more words to it every time. I want to just keep throwing more words in it.
Extremely Quinn and Incredibly Harley. Do you remember that Extremely Close and Incredibly Loud movie? I remember that movie.
You know what? I didn't, and I needed that explained. So usually I would make fun of you and say jokes are always funnier when you explain them, but honestly, that time needed it. Needed the explanation.
Well, I used to say extremely loud and incredibly close and other words to add to the title to make it even longer. Like it's a weird title with a weird cadence. But yeah. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Everything, like, I liked that little teaser they put out. Like when for some reason I had mentioned this the other day in the call. Like it seems like Warner Brothers just releases everything in leaks for some reason. Like whenever it comes to news, like big news or anything, or even like I guess that trailer leaked well before it came out. But the little camera test stuff they put out, like for the Joker and for this, but I mean, both look pretty good. I liked the little just kind of taste that they've been putting out right when they start filming production, like going into production, they released like little camera tests or costume tests or whatever. I mean, it looked all right there, like in motion, but yeah, I don't know.
It just looks like more of DC making dark for the sake of dark, and it seems like that's just what Warner's keeps doing with DC stuff. Like anything that remotely makes sense to be rated R. It's not just rated R, it's real R. And if they end up, again, telling a really interesting story and those characters are great, then I'm not gonna mind some raunch, but I hope it's not just, raunch with no substance.
Yeah.
So that's my worry. But anyway, so we're running a little behind. Why don't we go ahead and run off to our next segment real quick? Before we get into Pennyworth, we're going to go ahead, because I'm thinking this is going to come up in our Pennyworth discussion if we don't do it now. So this segment might sometimes come before the review segment, but we're going to go ahead and talk about our definitive version of something. We're going to do this on every show, and each show is going to be themed for a particular character or some other part of Batman mythology. We might do a whole show on Batmobiles. Who knows? Anything could happen. And but this is the Alfred show, so we're gonna, because we thought we'd do the most epic thing right away that we could think of. Our first episode, we wanted to really just hit it out of the park and start with Alfred.
Well, I think that leads right into T. Edge One's the $2 super chat right there. Who is your favorite Alfred and your least stay Bat-tastic? I don't know what that means, but
we want to thank you so much, T Edge One, for giving us a super chat in order to do the very next thing we were doing anyway.
Yeah, perfect.
We really appreciate it. What a segue! It was a super chatted segue. I don't know if I've ever had that happen before. That was fun.
Yeah, it was synergistic.
Your timing was impeccable. So
yeah,
let's hear from Dan first. Dan, who is your definitive Alfred Pennyworth? And we've now had many of them. And when I say definitive version, it can be from anyone, and we can talk about actors and stuff, but just your favorite take on that character.
I like, if we're talking actors, like Michael Caine, like, you know, I was talking about my Batman knowledge all comes from like the cartoon series and the movies and stuff, and I just Michael Caine's performance as Alfred and that kind of take on the character in general as like just Batman's guy that he goes to for emotional support and technical support and all the different things, like just the mentor there to help shape Bruce and not let him get too far out there with it all, and being that kind of rock for him. Like that's, I mean, Alfred in almost pretty much every iteration is that for him. But Michael Caine just brings the emotion and the substance to that character, and he's not just like, you know, I don't know. I was like, I really wanted to love Jeremy Irons as Alfred, but he was not given much to do with that character.
That's the case with a lot of their casting. Because I hear a lot of folks, including Eric, say like Irons is the definitive Alfred, and I'm like, I didn't get enough with him to say that. He might have been the definitive casting, but I can't say that without like he didn't win me over Caine because I didn't get to spend any time with him.
Yeah, exactly. No, like in Batman v Superman, they give him a bit to do, but like not enough. There was never full focus, and unfortunately, they never got around to doing an actual full thing with him and Affleck. So either way, I just always, whenever I think of Alfred, I think of Michael Caine, and I think of that scene in Batman Begins where he's telling him about his. Right after the car chase sequence and the party's going on upstairs, and he's telling him about damn good television. Yeah, but he sees that Bruce is enjoying it, and like this, like you could, you know, end up tarnishing his family's legacy and all that. It's not just your name, sir. It's your father's name. It's all that's left of him. Don't destroy it. I love that. It's
and the speech about the house toward the beginning is almost as good as that scene too. Yeah.
Hope you're not a member of the fire brigade.
Yes.
That's also a great line. So yeah, he brings the levity to the character, and he has the seriousness to it as well, and just that Alfred is tops for me.
It is a tie for me between Michael Caine and the animated series version.
Yeah.
Because the animated series Alfred is kind of like definitive traditional Alfred for me. So like I think my favorite performance and take on that is Michael Caine. But like when I think of Alfred, like just ubiquitously, just overall, it's that one. It's the animated series version.
He's so dry and witty and just yes, I admit it, I am Batman. And he still challenges Batman like Michael Caine does, but that's the best thing about the Michael Caine version is how much he challenges him, but you know, he's still always there for him until he's not in the last one. But like I think Michael Caine is
because he's not the action hero Alfred that we keep doing. Like more and more, we keep handing Alfred a shotgun and having him do like drop kicks, and we're not doing the thing we're doing with like Hot Aunt May, where we just keep making him younger and younger. Although sometimes we do that, like that 3D animated show, Beware the Batman had a somewhat younger Alfred, and the bald Alfred that could like kick ass and take names. But and he was great. I like that character. That was an inventive take on it. It was interesting. But Michael Caine feels to me like the transition between the really traditional Alfred and the more kind of like modern occasional like action hero Alfred, where like he's capable and he and like we know that he went to war and he talks about stuff that he did there, and like if he had to, he probably could pick up a shotgun and shoot people, and I imagine that version would be more willing to do that than Batman would, and that's one of the things I've always liked about Alfred, just in general, the kind of irony of that like he will actually cross a line Batman won't, but sees Batman as too extreme, and I love that. I think that's so interesting. But anyway, so yeah, it's a toss up. It's a tie between those characters. Live action wise, it is Michael Caine. But we haven't had a bad live action Alfred. Is the thing. Like I've always loved the '89 Alfred. I've always loved Michael Gough, and
he's so good.
And I like '60s Alfred a lot too. And he's also very capable because he's the only Alfred that regularly puts on a batsuit.
Oh, the '60s Alfred.
Yeah. He does that like a few different times.
Yeah, I remember that. He looks so weird in it.
And then we hilariously brought that back in Lego Batman movie.
Oh, the Lego Batman. Oh yeah. Oh man, I need to watch that again. It's been a couple of years. I think since it came out, I haven't watched it. Man, that movie makes me laugh so much.
Blue Dragon 5, do you feel we've been lucky with a string of great Alfreds, or is the character just that strong you can't mess with him that much?
I'm sure he could be done bad.
Yeah, but it hasn't really happened much.
Yeah, I think we've just been lucky.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, the idea, because I don't want to say Alfred is like at the heart of it, like just a brilliant genius character. Like he has been, but he's really just somebody for Batman to talk to. And somebody to do his dry cleaning, right? Like initially, it's the thing that makes Spider-Man sometimes harder to write. That like sometimes he's just swinging around, doesn't have anybody to talk to, so you got to have so much internal monologue. But if you want to, you can have Alfred just like call in on Batman, and Batman doesn't feel like talking, and then Alfred just keeps saying things. And so it's easy to have that dynamic.
Exactly, he's a great device. And character,
and is often kind of the comic relief. And I think the reason Alfred works so well as a comic relief character is that it's very often really subtle comedy. Like he doesn't say laugh out loud things. The Nolan movies absolutely have to have him. He's completely essential. And I mean, like, of course you're going to have an Alfred, but the most amusing lines in those movies come from that character. And we don't think of him as comic relief because you're not rolling your eyes. He's not Neelix talking to Batman,
Well, if we didn't have Michael Caine Alfred in there with the kind of subtle jokes, him and Lucius Fox both have those kind of like chuckle moments in there. But if you didn't have Alfred in there, it would just be flying on rooftops guy.
He's flying on roof. That's true. No, that's not true. Lucius Fox has a couple of amusing things to say, and also kind of subtle comedy when we use him for.
I think there was a missed opportunity of not bringing back Flying on Rooftops guy towards the end of Batman Begins, and like he's dangling from the train.
I think he should come back in Rises.
Oh, that would have been so good.
That would have been the best play. They're like, oh my God, he's back and he's flying on rooftop.
And they could have brought back the guy who was like Batman from Batman Forever. Like they could have both been next to each other, just having a lunch in the park or something like that.
You know where you do it. That's hilarious, but you know where you do it. You bring back Flying on Rooftops guy to comment on the bat because he's flying. He's just flying. Just in the sky.
In the daytime. He's going around Pittsburgh. I mean Gotham.
We never used Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh was in Rises. It was Pittsburgh.
I thought Rice's was just squarely New York City. Did it also use some Pittsburgh?
No, it was partially New York City. They used Trump Tower for Wayne Tower exterior, and then it was primarily Pittsburgh. It was Chicago in Begins and right there.
That's the issue I have with this, though. He takes Bruce Wayne to New York, and I always hate it when New York exists in the same universe. I hate that's a big pet peeve of mine. I always dislike that.
It is a little weird.
And he doesn't mention so far any other fictional cities. It's just like the world looks exactly. He's talking about like LaGuardia Airport and stuff. Like everything looks exactly the way it does in real life, but also there's Gotham City.
That's weird.
I wonder if it also has a Statue of Liberty.
Statue of, yeah. I was gonna try to pull something out, but I don't know.
Was it you I was talking to the other day when we came up with the Statue of Limitations?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, I had said something about the statue. I accidentally said Statue of Limitations, and then I said it sounded like a Tick thing. Like a thing from the Tick.
And then we just started rolling on, like, inventing what that would look like. The Statue of Limitations. All right. Should we go on to the next segment?
It sounds good.
All right. Dan and I both sampled Pennyworth.
Yeah.
And it's time for Bat Review. Okay, are you good? Are you cool? We have like a
Bat Review
intro thing. Bat Review. Okay, so now for the Bat Review. So Dan and I each sampled Pennyworth, which is a thing that, like I said, nobody I know has watched. No one is talking about this. I kind of forgot it even existed. And then when
who's signing up for Epics? Like that's my question. Who's going to sign up for Epics?
It's silly.
Yeah.
Even if you think if you watch the show and you think it's brilliant. It is really, really silly to think, well, we have something tangentially related to Batman. We can sell our entire streaming service on it. Like, at least CBS has the Star Trek thing. It's also a prequel, but it's at least the only Star Trek you had. And yeah, there's not other Batman TV shows on right now, but there's other shows that are related to Batman. You got Titans and stuff.
Do you think it was like, because I don't really know the particulars behind this, but I'd imagine DC probably had this show and they were going to develop it, and they probably just had a highest bidder scenario where they were just trying to sell it to. Because Epix doesn't have anything like I had heard of Epix, but I thought they were just a channel, and then I found out like. Yeah, I found out that they were doing this show, and I guess that's what they wanted. They wanted people to to be back on the map again because they hadn't been on the map in so long. So I mean, I think that's
I'm sure it wasn't their idea. I'm sure they were shopping that around. The first question I have for you before we even start talking about the show is, who in the world greenlit that show the way it is? Like, I sort of get, well, maybe we can do something with an early Alfred show. Like, I roll my eyes immediately at that premise. It reminds me of when the Graysons almost happened, except we're actually seeing it happen. There really is an Alfred TV show. There really is a show about Alfred Pennyworth at 28 years old, being an action hero. It exists, guys. You can go watch it. Who in the world thought... Okay, so those guys who made Gotham, they made 5 years of this show that people thought was going to be really huge, that Netflix spent way too much money on in order to get the first season, and then it kind of went sort of mediocre, and then people just stopped talking about it. I know. Yeah. We'll give them another Batman prequel.
Yeah. I was looking when the credits were rolling. When the credits were rolling and it said developed by Bruno Heller, and I was like, that name is very familiar to me. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's the guy who was the showrunner for Gotham.
Yeah. And then by the time you get to the second episode, you wouldn't have had to have had credits to know it's the same people. Like, immediately you're like, oh, I'm watching Gotham, except it's in London. And it is also an ambiguous time period, but takes place before there are computers. Okay, it's just Gotham with a 28-year-old Alfred. That's what the show is. And they've improved some things, and it's a little bit more straightforward, and I like some of the writing a little better, but it's Gotham. With Alfred, it's the same kind of weird, twisted stuff. It's the same kind. It's the same, sort of dark, kind of for the sake of dark, and
it's really dark. When it gets dark, it's dark.
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to get as rough as it does. And what's even worse is it's like, okay, it's sort of like Gotham, except somebody let these guys use the F-bomb, and they're very excited about getting to use the F-bomb.
Oh yeah, I haven't found the F-bomb being like overly used. It is quite violent, pretty graphic
serious?
with some of the violent.
It is,
and
very
like every
overused.
single episode, there must be a prerequisite. Like they have to have a torture scene every episode.
Oh,
for some reason.
I'm so done with Gotham torture scenes, man. I'm so
Yeah.
done with it. And but no, I'm sorry, I have to argue with you on this. They use the F word far too often.
F-bomb too much.
Yeah, and it's not because I'm a prude and I can't deal with the F word. It's the setting, it's the situation. Like, I get that it's kind of out of time, and some of the like anachronistic music and stuff is fun, where they'll throw in like a cover of a 80s song, but it looks like the 20s or the 30s. Maybe
feels like the 50s. It feels a lot like the 60s to me. But yeah, the first episode kicks off with Paint It Black, and you're getting good like hardcore 60s 70s rock in that first episode. They were spending some money on those on that music.
Oh, okay, here's the thing though. I'm not talking about that because nobody's listening to Paint It Black. There is an 80s song. I can't remember what it is. I think it's an Ozzy song that is incidental music in the scene.
Yeah, it's like a cover in the background.
Yeah.
I can't remember which song it is. Oh, crap. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, that is a little weird.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Because there's like neon and stuff, and they're doing like 60s kind of dances and stuff. So it feels 60s to me. I don't know if there's a specific like date they've put on it.
No, they haven't. Very clearly they haven't. What they're doing is they're making it time ambiguous, just like they did Gotham, except they're saying, well, it's got to feel even earlier because Alfred's got to be old later, and I think they have a headcanon where this is a prequel to their show. I really do. And I don't know if there's anything, because it's been a while since I watched Gotham and I never finished it. I don't know if there's anything in particular in that show that like contradicts anything already with Alfred's background in this show. But tonally and the kinds of stories they're telling, it's a prequel to Gotham.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I fell off. The last episode of Gotham I watched was the one we did last time we did Gotham discussions. Last time I was on Gotham discussions way back in the day, because I was watching the show to go along with you guys and review it. So I have long since been unplugged from that show and I never got back to it. But the out of time stuff is really strange because they had the public executions where the people were getting hung and then disemboweled for some reason, and it was being televised, and it was like sponsored by some random, like it was like a NASCAR race the way they were announcing it at the beginning. It's like, and up next, it was so weird. I was like, when was the last time they had public executions in London? It's kind of strange to me.
Well, yeah. So again, it's clearly heightened, right? It's clearly a surreal thing. But they can't decide how nutso they want it to. And Gotham had the same problem. You've got scenes that exist in a universe where that is not happening.
Yeah.
You just do. Alfred and his family and a lot of other characters in the show, his girlfriend, are way too like well-adjusted and living in something that feels more akin to the real world for there to be like televised beheadings. I don't buy it. It's crazy. And they didn't know that it went that far until they did that scene. That's how they plotted Gotham. They're like, we want something that will shock people. They write to plot twists. They're not writing to emotions, to like emotional moments that are like naturally arrived to. Sometimes they are when they feel like it. That's what drove me crazy about Gotham. So here's the whole thing with the show for me. I've only watched 3 episodes of this. There are 8.
Same thing here. Yeah.
We sampled it. We watched 3 episodes, and so far I think it's a better show than Gotham, but I don't think it's necessarily a better show than Gotham was 3 episodes in. So that's the first thing. I think it could keep going insanely off the rails as it goes along. Secondly, eventually Gotham got to a place where it was able to ride on the feeling that it was like a really dark satire, that it was kind of, I've always said this, that it was like 60s Batman, but with like, eviscerations and stuff. This show has no excuse to be doing that stuff. It's not Gotham. And what I mean is it's not that city. Like, why is London as insane and messed up as Gotham?
Because of the Raven Club, or whatever they're called.
Well, not just them. There's, like, dueling secret societies.
Yeah. I kind of like that aspect of it. It is strange. I don't know. after that pilot was really good. I thought that pilot was a very good, like, just sense of what the series could be. The 2 episodes after that kind of had moments where I was like, oh, this is maybe a little too far with what you're going with, and it's kind of pulling out of that. Like, I felt like the pilot had struck probably the best balance of everything. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't disagree with that. I thought even the pilot was kind of a mixed bag. But like the nice thing about these guys making a show that has a central protagonist is that it forces them to focus more.
Yeah.
And so they can't go very long in a show called Pennyworth, leaving him off screen for very long. So it's not, at least so far, too much of an ensemble cast show. They are spending too much time with their villains. They love to do that. And their villains are one-dimensional crazy people, and they just love writing psychotics. And, and putting in as much bondage imagery as humanly possible. And I can't believe we're still doing that.
They're going hardcore Bond. And a little bit of Sherlock, too.
Yeah, and don't you feel like it's just... Don't you feel like it's just an excuse to do that stuff? Like, these guys want to write that stuff, and so there's no reason for it here. Like, you could make an argument for it in Gotham, at least at some point in that show, that okay, they're doing this like really like weird dark comedy. This is not a comedy, but it doesn't know that sometimes.
I've chuckled at points, but
it's not a
I like Jape. No, I get you. It's not like a
comedy, like
yeah.
And Gotham wasn't either. It was really uneven with that stuff. Like,
yeah.
So let me just say, the guy playing Alfred is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's just excellent, and I'm very interested in him, and I don't totally dislike the reinvention and where they're going with that. Naturally, he's got to be a big action hero. Naturally, he's got to be investigating the biggest thing going on in London.
Yeah.
His backstory has to be he uncovers something almost as big as the Court of the Owls before we ever have Batman. I'm surprised they're not the Court of the Owls. I really expected that.
Yeah, it was very, it reminded me a lot of that. I was wondering if they were going to, like, I don't know how long the Court of Owls has been going on because I'm not super
that's
abreast of that story, but yeah. I was wondering if it was going to come into play at some point.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the as the series is going on, it seems a bit more ensemble-y because you start to focus on some of the other side characters. Like, they've been very Alfred focused for the first couple, but his crew, James Boy and I think Fozzie Bear, Ozzy, what's his name? The other guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't. His crew. James Boy is, I think, a little back and forth. But what do you think of those characters?
I don't know yet. I don't have a great sense of them.
Yeah.
Like we spent some time on them in the 3rd episode in order to continue to kind of drive home the fact that James Boy is like kind of like obsessed with violence, and he's drunk all the time, and he's not living a great life, and he's looking for any excuse to kill people. And I like their friendship. Okay, I thought the way that worked out with them after he accidentally, minor spoilers, he accidentally kills a guy, and it's really funny. But I was like, I had to rewind and watch that again. I was like, what? Like, oh my gosh, wow. Let me step back and ask you the big question, which is, how much does this need to be a Alfred thing?
Oh. I mean,
or set in a Batman-esque universe, because it feels like the only reason it's as stylized as it is because it's Batman, because these are the guys that made Gotham.
Yeah, it definitely has the Batman-y elements in there with the secret societies and the big bad guy and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I like what they've established and kind of the groove of the show, but it is very, like what you have said, it's very much like Gotham, where it's like that thing of a week, case of the week sort of deal.
And to be fair to Epix, they are releasing it once a week. It's not a binge show.
Yeah.
So
it's still coming out.
So it's okay, but but the point I'm making is, I guess it's okay that it's somewhat procedural and that it's not just one big story, but then I wish it was a little bit more procedural, because it's all 3 episodes in, and I don't know what the other 5 are like. 3 episodes in, there's stuff that already feels too convoluted to me, and it's frustrating because it feels like Gotham season 6, but just jumping you know, decades and decades earlier. That's what it feels like to me, and it's. I just wish it was a little simpler. Because I'm interested in Alfred. I'm interested in his relationship with his parents. I'm interested in the in the social warfare. Kind of the social class warfare, excuse me, the situation that he's in, where he wants to marry this girl who's of a higher stature than him, and it's not just her father that's against it, but it's also his, because he's got this very, like, know your place, I'm a butler, you should also be a butler thing. And it might sound like, if you've not watched it, the obvious way to go with it, but it actually is relatively compelling.
Yeah.
That whole thing works okay to me. And I don't mind, like, you know, Alfred's trying to be his own man, and he's starting a security firm, he's running his own business, and then eventually he's gonna, I guess, find some kind of like a middle of the road balance thing. It doesn't feel like Smallville, where it's like everything has to be the exact opposite. It's not too much of that.
Yeah.
Like I can see this guy eventually still deciding to be a butler. Maybe. It's so weird we're even having this conversation. How does this show?
I know. It is. Well, it feels like when he does eventually get around to Bruce, like he's helping Bruce with the tools that he's developed over like the time that, like, I do see this Alfred becoming Alfred, you know.
Yeah. So that's all right.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how I feel about reinventing the Waynes so much. Like, you're not using very much Batman mythology with this at all. And that's okay. We could have gotten real gimmicky with that real early. They might still. I mean, these guys used everything they could think of that they've ever thumbed through a comic and found in Gotham. Yeah. Just everything.
That's true. I like Thomas Wayne so far.
I wouldn't be surprised if Saint Dumas showed up at some point in this show. But so I'm going to argue with you with that. I'm not sure
crazy about Thomas.
I'm not sure about their Wayne yet. I like Martha. I like her actress a lot. I think she's actually quite good. But Thomas Wayne seemed too much like the same archetype we pulled for Howard Stark.
Okay. I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Just getting too much of a Howard Stark vibe off of them. Really, so they're going to be... So we made them both secret agents.
Yeah.
So Batman's parents are secret agents, and they both meet Alfred before they meet each other. Okay.
That's how they met each other.
Yeah. All right. I mean,
I was just more so meaning, like, because they haven't really given him too much to do so far, as far as like the first 3 episodes with Thomas Wayne. Like, he's pretty heavily featured in the first one and then a little bit in the second one, very briefly. But he's just kind of being shoved off to the side right now. Just as far as like the actor goes and the performance, like I like at first was a little put off because he said like agender, and like when he was saying agenda, and I was like, oh, he's British, and then I looked it up and he is British, because I think it's a primarily British production. I don't know exactly, but
well, I love that about it. It's a very British show.
Yeah, super British. All the you got me government, like all that. The accents are
sometimes
crazy.
It's even a little overwritten. Like, they're trying really hard to make as British of a show as they can.
The first episode, definitely, they're pulling out every single phrase that you have to Google to figure out what they're saying.
Yeah, and there are whole scenes where I don't know what anybody's talking about. That definitely is happening.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But like right after that scene, his accent was flawless, and I thought it was really good. But yeah, I don't know. It's more so just the cadence and the way he speaks, and that's kind of more so what I was focusing on, more so than what they're doing with the story with him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying him so far, but I'd be curious to see how he folds into the series a little bit more, because I felt like they sold the show on like, hello, Well, I guess it was more so to get people on.
Of course they're going to do that. If you don't have anything recognizable at all in the pilot, everyone's going to ask the question I just asked, why is this an Alfred show?
Yeah.
And
I'm Thomas Wayne.
Like, so obviously this premise you don't get to without the character that they're doing a prequel for, but if you could take all the like real, and it looks great, just like Gotham did. I mean, the production values are wonderful.
Gorgeous show.
It is a really cool looking twisted London, but that's not meshing as well with the more simple story about the butler's son that just wants to go his own way. And I kind of wish it could just be a period piece about that, and it didn't have to get bogged down into the heightened stylized comic stuff, which is a weird thing for me to say because I love that stuff, but it doesn't feel as appropriate in this as it did with Gotham. I just don't think those two things are talking to each other real well. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm watching two completely different shows. And when it's actually the Alfred show, which is what it is, I'm liking it okay. But whenever we get away from him and we go to some of that weird, bondage imagery and all that, I'm like, okay, I'm watching Gotham again. It's a totally different show.
Yeah, some of that is a little off-putting, but for the most part, I mean, I've been after watching these 3 episodes, I am like, I'm probably gonna keep watching this show. Like, I think I might continue it on and see how it goes.
That's interesting.
I before we pulled it up, I wouldn't have said that. Before you were like, hey, let's review for Pennyworth for the thing. I wasn't going to subscribe to Epics and watch the Pennyworth show. I think I like it more than you do, but
you absolutely like it more than I do. I don't actually plan to watch any more of it.
Yeah.
If I don't know. I might get a whim, but at the moment, I'm not compelled to watch any more of it.
Yeah, I didn't get like sick of Gotham or anything because I stopped watching Gotham. So
well, that's the thing, I don't really. I'm probably more sensitive to that whole thing than you are because I stuck with that show as long as I did, and you didn't see the most insane stuff. You didn't get to the places where it just could not decide what show it was.
The thing about Gotham was like it seemed like it really wanted me to come back because they kept casting people on that show. Like B.D. Wong as Hugo Strange sounds awesome. I love B.D. Wong. I don't know how he ended up turning out as him, but all the casting they kept announcing just seemed like really good, spot on stuff. But then I just never got back to it.
So Blue Dragon 5, I think, is the only person that's been watching the show because he's been leaving
Hi,
a lot
Blue
of
Dragon.
comments, but nobody else has been commenting. We'll get to Back Studios super chat in a second, but one of the things he says is maybe you should lay off the bondage term, Cap, if you mean Bondy or Bondesk. No, that's not what I mean. I mean bondage. There's a bunch of that kind of imagery, just like they had in Gotham. There's a ton of that.
Yeah, especially in the 3rd episode.
Yeah, and then he mentions the whole Fish Mooney crushing her own eye thing, and this has already gone to places like that. Like, it's already done that. Isn't his relationship with his off-again, on-again fiance already insane, like insanely melodramatic after 3 episodes?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And I like them together, and some of that is kind of romantic and gets me, but it's so soap opera. And again, thinking about the way they handled, you rolled your eyes just like I did. Like,
no, that's probably one of the weakest aspects of the show, because the first episode does a really good job at like showing that there's a passage of time. Like, it's been weeks. Like, they mentioned that it's been weeks at points, and so it's like
problem Gotham had. It could not decide how much time passed, and second and third episode have that problem.
But now at this point, it seems like for the last 2 episodes, they haven't really mentioned time passing so much, and it just seems like they're so on and again, off again. And it is very jarring.
Oh, it's insane. Like, they meet, and it feels like they're like really super close and have been dating forever after like a day and a half, but I don't know how much time passed there. And then they break up, and then they get together again after horrible things happen to them, and then they get engaged, and then they break up, and then they move in together, and all of that happens. I know I'm spoiling stuff, but everything I just said happens in 3 episodes. It's 3 shows. I'm spoiling a little bit, but we haven't watched all of it, so I'm spoiling a little bit from the first 3 episodes, nothing for the rest of the series, and nobody else seems to care, because nobody else is commenting except for Blue Dragon 5 and Robert.
Well, nobody's watched Pennyworth. They don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know what kind of bothered me? In the first episode, she mentions because they're having dinner with his family, Esme and Alfred. Esme's the girl that Alfred's into and in the relationship with. And Esme says to Alfred's...
She's excellent.
Huh?
I should say she's a really good actress. I mean, she's excellent.
She is. No, I think all the actors on this show are really great. But so she says to Alfred's dad that she thinks her dad would really like Alfred. And I don't know where that came from at all, because the next episode she says he's tedious. He's tedious to Alfred. And I'm like, are they like retconning this? They must have in the pilot not thought to set up this storyline with her, I guess, and it was just kind of writing as they went along. But then, yeah, right after that, like the very next episode, she's like, I don't know if you'll get along with him. But he's like, the last episode you just said that we'd get along. Maybe she was just trying to cover for the dad, or they just didn't think that that's where they were going to go with it.
And then just looking at the progression of his character arc, it's a somewhat procedural show, so I get keeping it going for that stuff, but it feels like it should be a miniseries. Like, the story we're telling with Alfred feels like a 6 to 8 episode miniseries to me.
Yeah.
When this goes into third or fourth season, it's going to be hilarious, and I'm going to cry because the tick didn't last that long, and it was excellent and deserved it, and I bet this show goes 3 or 4 seasons.
Do you think? I was wondering if it'll even get a second season. Like, I wonder what kind of numbers this is doing on epics.
No, I'm with you, but their threshold, like the CW, I would assume would be pretty low if it's like the only thing they have. Because I said the same thing about Discovery. Like, the numbers weren't good, and it was apparently like the lowest rated Star Trek show ever after the first season, and it is going into 3. That's a somewhat different situation, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm assuming it goes 3 or 4 seasons because nothing I want to stay on does, and everything else. Anyway,
That's pretty good.
I'm being maybe too hard on this. I liked a lot of stuff about it, but it is Gotham Season 6 with Alfred as the main character set decades before it. That's how it watches to me. Somebody asked if it felt like that Alfred. No, that's what's weird about it. It's the Michael Caine Alfred, but in the Gotham universe.
I like it.
Well, just accent, if nothing else. I mean, he's got a very similar accent to Michael Caine's accent. Like, just as far as the kinds of Alfreds we're talking about, like those are 2 characters from completely different places in England, and the Gotham one and this one, and he sounds a lot like Michael Caine.
Definitely, no, I could see him growing up to be any of the Alfreds, really, but mainly Michael Caine.
Kelly Jones says I'm being petty, but the thing is, I'm having story issues that I had with Gotham, and I'm kind of seeing the writing on the wall. I'm just seeing like okay, these guys have not learned enough to be going off and making another show, and especially with relationship things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm coming into it too fresh. Cap is a jaded Bat guy.
I'm pre-jaded
from Gotham.
Yeah, sorry about it. But if I wasn't, all the torture in this would make me that way anyway.
That is true. It reminds me a little bit of, since you mentioned Discovery,
and I appreciate that was a joke, but even if it wasn't, that's fine. You can call me Petty. I can take it. It's cool.
Lori Petty. Speaking of Star Trek Discovery, like the violence in it reminded me of Star Trek Discovery, where it's like I wasn't expecting this show to go as far as it does, and holy crap, it does.
And
like
why does it need to?
Violence.
Hardcore
violence.
It seems inappropriate to me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have to go there.
For the most part, I haven't been put off by it. It's just like once they start hanging people, and then disemboweling them, I was like, oh, that's a little. I didn't get that. I just didn't understand why they would do that.
It doesn't fit in that universe, I don't think. It's bizarre. And then the entrails.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's a little much.
But Dan's gonna keep watching. Dan,
I will. Yeah.
After you watch another episode or two, tell me if it continues to pick up, and I will consider looking at it again.
You and I don't always have the same opinions on things, though.
No, we don't. We don't.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, though. Is like I think we're a little bit of a chocolate or peanut butter kind of guys. Yeah, well, who doesn't like both?
Because if we got, I'm not a peanut butter person.
Really? Well, see, here we go.
Well, what's really funny is I don't like peanut butter in most things, but my favorite candy is Reese's Pieces, so noodle that. I like it there.
Reese's Pieces isn't real peanut butter, though,
no,
so
that's true.
It's candy peanut butter.
Robert Wild, do you think a Thomas Wayne prequel TV series isn't too far-fetched at this point? I think anything could happen at this point. I think there could be a Batmite origin film now. I think anything could happen at this point.
Batmite. Oh, my goodness.
I think the Leslie Tompkins prequel show could happen. I think there could be like a 12-year-old Leslie Tompkins learning nursing on the street. I think that could happen.
I'd watch it all for a few episodes and then stop watching.
Get tired of it and then go back and play Arkham City for the 120th time.
Oh, yeah, I really would.
All right, folks, we are going to move on to our last segment now. We're running over a little bit, but I'm going to make sure and put a spoiler warning in the title, because I did not mean to talk as much about that as we did, but then there were just crazy things that happened, and I was like, oh, yeah. But I gotta ask Dan about this, because it's crazy.
Can I say my favorite line so far out of all the episodes? Well, one, the opening a door with discreet panache was great.
Yeah,
you must open a door with discreet panache. That was great. And also, you shot a granny was really great. James Boy.
I like a lot of the dialogue in this show. No, there's. I mean, that's the thing is, it's a mixed bag for me. There's some great stuff in it, but
it's bad guy telling Alfred to think about it before he does it, and he goes, like hits him.
Kelly Jones says,
thought about it.
Why not? If nothing else, these producers have no shame in going absolutely buck wild. Yeah, they'll do anything.
That is true.
They'll do anything. Okay, last segment. It is now time for the Bat Chat. That's right, the Bat Chat is now a segment inside of a different show. And we're going to chat right now about Batman-related things that you guys want us to talk about for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to start with a topic. I'm going to throw out a topic for us, Dan, and then we'll use that to give everybody some time to throw out some possible topics. And anything Batman-related or even Alfred-related, anything about the rest of things we talked about the show that you want to ask us about or throw at us for topics of conversation, please do that right now. And Dan, everybody's pressing play to do a commentary now. Dan, I want to ask you this very simple question. What would you like to see if we were to make more Batman video games, be it in the Arkham series or out of it? Like, do you want to go back to that continuity? Would you like to see something completely brand new? What would you pitch? What would you want?
Arkham Knight ends, and like, no spoilers for Arkham Knight or anything, but it ends relatively definitively for that character. But like, I liked the idea of whatever that scrapped. It sounded interesting. Warner Brothers Montreal apparently was working on a post Arkham Knight Batman game that would supposedly follow Damian Wayne as Batman, and it's supposed to be like future Gotham, and it's kind of not quite Batman Beyond-y, but they had some like character designs of like Two-Face, maybe 30 years down the line or something like that. He was a bit older,
and they would have been looking at Morrison stuff for that too, because Morrison does some like flash forwards to to him actually in the Batsuit in a future Gotham. Yeah,
that seemed really neat concept wise, but apparently that ended up getting shut down for whatever reason. I don't know why. Just give me a Clayface mold simulator where you just glob around Gotham, and it's kind of like Splatoon, but you're Clayface. And
see, that sounds really fun. But as soon as you said that, and I'm not even an RPG guy, I was imagining an RPG where like you're Clayface, and you can shift into different people. You can in order to further your acting career, and that's like
hey, that sounds cool. I like that a lot.
And then when your acting career doesn't go anywhere, you make a big mace with your hand and you murder people.
Telltale Clayface, make it happen.
I would play the crap out of that. Somebody
You
asked me if that sounds far-fetched. Because nothing does!
What doesn't? What doesn't anymore? Did you hear about Dave Bautista wanting to do a Clayface solo picture?
See, nothing surprises me, but he's not a bad pick.
No, that's his pitch. He was like tweeting about it or something. He wanted to do like a Drax solo picture apparently at Marvel, and they said no. And so he's more so interested, like he just wants to do a solo superhero movie with just starring him.
Well, that makes sense. That's where the money is right now.
Yeah, that's true.
I can see why he wants to do that, but he also enjoys doing that stuff. He's not a bad pick for Clayface. There's also a lot of different ways to do that character. There's a lot of different versions of Clayface. What I would love to see is something like a little bit more lighthearted, and maybe you can do like a couple of different things at the same time, because I don't mean to say that I don't want to still see like darker adult Batman stuff, but that tends to be all we get as far as video games go. I would love to see something kind of in the vein of Spider-Verse, but with Batman. Because after all, Batman was always more conducive to that idea in the first place, and we've done a lot of good multiversal. There's a whole bunch of Batmans at the same time, and let's do that to show how versatile that character is and how you can do it in a million different ways, and it's still Batman. The Spider-Verse movie made a better case for it than anything else ever has for Spider-Man, but that's never been as true with that character as it is with Batman. You can do Batman like 1,000 different ways. And wouldn't it be cool, instead of just playing with a bunch of different downloadable content skins to get to make your Batman look different, if you had a bunch of Batmans in a game that all came together?
That would be really neat.
I'd love something like that.
Kind of Lego Batman-ese meets the multiverse, Spider-Verse thing. That sounds like I'd be really down for that. You could have super extreme Batman in there who is like, just want to kill people. I just want to brand them. And like you could have Ben Affleck
and you
Batman.
could have Adam West at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just throw it all in there. Brave and the Bold. Like just throw it all in there. It'd be really cool. And it would sell just on principle.
Yeah. I wonder how you would balance that tone or what that story would be exactly, but it would be very interesting.
I have no idea, but it would be cool if it was like a dimension hopping thing where you could also go to a lot of different kinds of Batman dimensions, and maybe I mean, it's risky for me to say this because this would have some really dark parts of it, so it would probably still be a mature game that just wasn't all mature. But you could do an adaptation of Dark Knight's Metal. I mean, that's the easiest way to make that game happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's answer some questions, Dan.
Let's do it. Questions are in the chat.
Noah O, would you like to have Alfred as your butler?
Yes.
Yeah, but he would have to, because the thing is, I wouldn't be like Batman where I would like refuse food, so he would have to make the kind of food that I like.
Nothing with peanut butter.
Yeah, he couldn't just constantly bring cucumber sandwiches. It would need to be tuna fish.
A J sandwich, sir. No PB.
A J sandwich.
A J sandwich.
Once again, a joke that I needed you to explain. I've never gotten
I know. It wouldn't have made sense otherwise, so I had to.
Is there some guy named Jay in the sandwich? What so you would, though? You would want Alfred as your butler?
Oh, I mean, I'd just clean up around the apartment. I don't need to be Batman in order to have Alfred as a butler. I'll just any butler. Does anybody in the chat want to be my butler? I just need a butler.
I'll take a butler.
I had to mad dash clean up my office just so I could be on camera for this, and I was just like throwing things around. Alfred could have done that hours ago.
Dan's in the middle of a stream, and he gets lost somewhere for like 2 hours, and he starts like heavily drinking, and then Alfred's just standing behind him, encouraging him, and then Dan turns around and goes, "You haven't given up on me yet," and he goes, "Never."
Oh man, I slip in the bathroom, and then he's just like, "Why do we fall, Master Dan's?" I'm like, "I fell because the ground is soapy, and you didn't put down the mat."
So that we can learn
sorry, it's
to
in the
pick
washer.
ourselves up, and then he gets up and then he falls again. Just a vicious cycle. Wanderer, what do you guys think of Batman Damned and how the controversy affected both that book and the Black Label as a whole? So I don't know how much you know about this, Dan.
I'll let you take it away, Cap.
Okay, sorry, buddy. So Batman Damned, I bought the first 2 issues of. I've been real behind on current stuff. I'm kind of buying things more later. I'm not buying stuff right when it comes out lately. Partly because I'm reading more digital, and partly because my money's going out of stuff right now. And people on the channel don't care as much about me reading comics, so I'm doing more stuff when it's finished. So I read the first issue, and I was kind of bored by it and didn't love it. But so I'll just mention that it's okay. The Constantine stuff's kind of cool. The art's beautiful, of course. It's one of my favorite artists. It's just not, it's just not a great book. But the controversy I thought was ridiculous, and I didn't like the way DC put their tail between their legs with it. This is just my opinion, but I feel like if you're going to do a thing called Black Label, and the idea is anything goes, and then there's a controversy where people complain because you had male nudity in your book.
I was about to ask. I was about to mention that. I was like, I wanted to get that one, whichever the one that was. That's
what it is.
One.
Yeah.
Oh man, and then they took it out.
Yeah. I've got a copy. But the thing is,
all right, I'll read it next time I come over.
Sure. It's probably you probably find it somewhere digitally at this point. But the thing,
I saw the picture.
Oh, I thought you just wanted to read it. I don't mean just to get to see nude Batman. But so.
It's curious.
two big things with this. First of all, I don't think they handled it the way they should have, where they shut everything down and they started questioning whether they should even make more Black Label stuff. I think the classy way to handle that, and the way to, you know, still have a little bit of integrity and a little confidence as a company, is to either say, look, the point of this line is to let creators express themselves any way they want to, and if it's controversial, fine. Like that's
like,
how
whatever
art
happened
works.
to riding the controversy.
Yeah,
like, that everybody's just buckling under it nowadays.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. That's how art works. And
yeah.
It wasn't anything so controversial like, you know, insane racism or somebody using the N-word or anything like that. It was just male nudity, and I don't think it would have been as big of a deal if it was just some random character. It was like, for some reason, it's like insanely wrong to do that with a beloved character like Batman.
Yeah.
But if they didn't want to stand up for themselves in that way, then what they should have done was just let it exist and say to themselves, all right, we're just never going to do that again. But I don't think they handled it right. And then the second thing is, as I alluded to a minute ago, I don't understand why it was that controversial. Why is it that big of a deal? Because everybody was like, oh my God, we saw Batman's whatever. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What's the... I need this explained to me. I don't understand
it
why
was
it was
so
such a
subtly
big deal.
done as well.
Yeah.
It's not like he was like in the frame going, yeah, look at it. It was just he was just walking away. It was just in shadow.
And this is not me saying that like it was so wonderfully artistically done in the first place, and like the book doesn't make sense without it. And you have to have it. Like they didn't have to draw it that way. But I also don't understand why it's such a big deal that they did. You know, it's not like Dr. Manhattan, where there's like, you know, kind of some reasons, you know, for that character to be fully nude in some panels. But like DC didn't handle it right, but I also don't understand why people freaked out about it.
Yeah. It was dumb the way DC just kind of folded under that pressure. Whatever
that's just
pressure
my opinion.
it was.
I mean, some folks aren't going to agree with me, but that's just how I feel about it. It didn't bother me. It was not a big deal. I was bored by the book. That was the bigger problem I had. I didn't love it. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm bored, and then look, it's naked Batman. T-Edge 1, have you seen Lego Batman Family Matters? No, I bought it. I haven't watched it yet. It's funny too, because I've been working on a rewind for the first Lego Justice League movie, and I haven't watched the brand new one yet because I've been working on that. So I will do that soon. Jason and I will probably try to do it, how we felt about on that. Gotcha. But it's fun that they finally did a straight up Batman one, because they kept doing Lego Justice League movies, and the second one, by the way, Dan, is fantastic. It's so wonderfully satirical about like New 52, and it feels like a direct response to BVS. And it couldn't have been, and it's fantastic.
Really?
But yeah, it's really clever. The one thing I'll tell you about it, this is how I always pitch this movie to people. There's this election between the Justice League members of who's going to run the team. They do it as a democracy, because Superman is so altruistic, he doesn't want to call the shots, so he makes being in the Justice League a democracy. And they choose a new leader every 6 months. There's only like 6 of them, but they choose a new leader every 6 months, and the only nominees are Batman and Superman. And Superman loses because he voted for Batman.
Why would Superman vote for Batman?
Because he's that noble, he's that altruistic. That's the joke, is that Superman's not going to vote for himself, so he loses. It's hilarious. I love it
pretty good.
So much. So
now,
anyway.
I haven't seen any of those like off it, because those are just straight to video, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Video doesn't exist anymore. Straight to DVD home video. There you go. I guess
right.
we still call it home video.
A lot of those are streaming on Hulu right now.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's the place you can watch the one that I'm about to post a rewind about. If you haven't, just to everybody, if you haven't seen it and you want to
study up,
you want to know what I'm rambling about for half an hour. Yeah, I
like listening to you ramble about even things I haven't seen before.
Well, thanks, man. It's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
I've scoured that rewind playlist. Like I've listened to them all back in the day.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, that's really nice of you, man.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here that I really want to answer. A couple of things neither one of us would have a whole lot to say about. Blue Dragon 5. So is Commissioner Gordon like Carl Winslow or something? I don't know who he's responding
for the Lego Batman Family Matters, because that's what I was thinking too. Family Matters was a show.
Yeah, no, I know
Carl Winslow
I know what you're talking
and
about.
Steve Urkel.
Jokes are always funny.
And yeah.
No, it's not. It's not that. The last. So what I was about to say earlier about all that is, so they made Lego Justice League movies, but Batman was always like really front and center in them, so they felt more like Batman things. And then they started. They started titling them. They still have the Justice League in them, but they started titling them with other characters that are more front and center. It's almost like they heard people complain about that, so they started doing it. So they started putting that in the title. So the first one they did was a Lego Flash movie, and they did Lego Aquaman. The Flash one is great. The Aquaman one is so-so. And then they just did a straight up Batman one. So he'll be front and center, but at least this time. And it's supposed to have it's supposed to do a whole Jason Todd Red Hood thing. Ooh. So I don't know how much they tried to adapt Under the Red Hood for Lego, but I'm very interested in seeing
how do you do that story without getting kind of dark and whatever?
What's great about it is they managed to walk that line. It's great. It always feels rated G, and yet they have cynical Batman, and I don't know how they pull it off, but it's fantastic. It's great. Like the first one, the one I'm reviewing this coming week is Batman not trusting Superman because like he just met him recently and he thinks that he's behind all the evil things happening and he wants to kill him and he just walks around with a box of kryptonite that he occasionally opens and then Superman drops, and it's very funny.
Yeah, I think you can get away with that just because it's so like the antithesis of the atmosphere in general with that, the Batmosphere, if you will, where it's very kiddie and like ho hum or whatever, and then it's just Batman so over dramatic with his cynicism and all that stuff.
It's hilarious. And Lex Luthor has a step-by-step like Lego instruction guide on how to kill how to kill Superman. And step 5 is a gravestone.
That's great.
That's great.
That was really good. Yeah, those Lego games way back in the day were always really funny. I know, like those movies, I want to say, started with them just collecting cutscenes from some of the games and releasing them as home video releases. A couple of them were at the very least. But yeah, the sense of humor with those are really good. I know Funko Pop is trying to get into the home video market with their own things soon or now or something. I don't know.
I'm nervous about that. Apparently, Warner's greenlit a Funko Pop movie, and the question is, what all properties are gonna be in that?
Yeah, I don't know. They got away with the Lego movie. I don't know, and now everything's like, we can be the Lego movie, and yeah.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We are over time, and if you didn't get your question answered, Robert Wild was asking about the Matt Reeves Batman movie. I've talked about that a lot on the Captain Logan show, and we don't know a whole lot yet, so I don't have a lot to say yet.
Yeah. Some Long Halloween rumors recently.
Oh, really?
Maybe we should supposedly they're adapting Long Halloween. I haven't read an article about it yet, but apparently Kevin Smith was talking about it.
Everything's guy go to Long Halloween.
I know, right? We already did with the Dark Knight a little bit.
We did that. Well, it sounds like they're looking for any excuse to get in as many villains as they can. And
that's the story to go to. One of them.
Well, that's one of them. I mean, here's the thing. Long Halloween's not a bad thing to adapt because there's a lot of ways to improve on that story. It kind of falls apart at the end. Eric and
Man, right at the start. Oh, there we go.
Okay, looks like we're back. Yeah. Well, our stream disconnected for a second, so we're just going to go ahead and bid everybody farewell right now. Shall we, Dan? Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed the Batmosphere, our first episode where we talk about the most epic thing we could think about regarding
Alfred.
Batman, the Alfred show. And next time we are gonna talk about something else Batman related, and we're not gonna tell you what it is yet. We're gonna make you wait 1 month from now. Tune back in, and looking forward to seeing you on the next Batmosphere. Dan, thanks so much for doing this with me. I'm so excited about it. It's so much fun.
It was super fun. Glad to be back on the channel and doing something regular with you.
You're great, man. Batman. I really appreciate it.
Hand hearts.
Well, folks, really, I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight with joy. Is what's gonna happen. All right, we'll see you later.
Joy. Bye, everybody.
See you next time. Bye, everybody.